Richard Brooks, a famous jeweler, called the detective's office saying he had just been robbed.
I spent the entire morning showing diamond rings to a few people. A gentleman in a suit, a woman with her son, and a couple. When I looked down to grab the store's most expensive ring, I felt somebody hit me on the head. I fell forward, and when I woke up, everybody was gone,
Brooks told the detective. The detective asked to take a look at the security cameras, and in a few minutes, he figured out who had robbed it. Take a look at the image. Can you tell who did it? If you look closely, you'll see that the woman that was in the store with her son is carrying a teddy bear. But look at that bear's eye. It's bright, like a diamond. She must have stolen it. Amy lives in a cozy townhouse with 3 roomies, Jill, Alice, and Nora. Take a look at these 4 bedrooms. Can you tell which one belongs to Amy? Let's go one by one, Sherlock. In the first room, there's a comb with some green hair stuck to it. Nora's the one with green hair, so that must be her room. Then in the room to the right, there's a single red sock under the bed. Take a look at Jill's feet. She's missing that same sock. That must be her room. In the room right under this, there's a yellow jacket hanging on the chair. And Alice is wearing the same colored pants. It looks like the 2 pieces are a suit, huh? This leaves the last room, with a huge letter A poster hanging on the wall. That must be Amy's room. Phew, that took some work. Bobby entered a coffee shop excited to drink his daily cappuccino. But when he went to pay, he realized he had forgotten his wallet. The barista, instead of getting mad at him, suggested another way out. If Bobby could win his game, he would give Bobby the cappuccino for free. Bobby agreed. Okay, I'm going to tell you 3 facts about myself, and you have to figure out which one is false, the barista said. Here are the facts. I have 3 brothers. I hate the color red. I have a PhD in philosophy. Can you help Bobby out? Which fact do you think is false? It's the second one. Look at how many red things the barista owns. His cell phone case, the belt he's wearing, and his hat. Kevin had to travel to Los Angeles on business. He checked into his hotel and went out for the series of meetings he had during the day. After a long day of work, he came back to the hotel exhausted. He ordered some room service and fell asleep binge-watching his favorite TV show. But in the middle of the night, he was woken up and kept turning and tossing around in his bed. That's when he picked up the phone, made a call, didn't say anything, then finally fell back asleep. Who did Kevin call and why? That's easy. He called the room next to his. His neighbor's snoring was through the roof, so it woke Kevin up. When he called his next-door neighbor, it woke him up, and Kevin didn't need to say anything. The neighbor stopped snoring, and Kevin was finally able to sleep. Will and Frank went hiking on their summer vacation. They walked for hours before finding the perfect spot to set camp, in the middle of a deserted island. The next morning, they thought it would be safe enough to leave their things unattended and went for a short walk around the island. When they came back, their stuff was scattered everywhere, and some of their things were missing. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who stole their things? Nobody. Look at how that palm tree is swinging. A storm is clearly coming, and the wind got pretty harsh. So it was probably just the strength of the wind that scattered all their stuff around, and some of it might have gotten into the ocean. Yikes! You wake up and find yourself trapped in a room with 4 doors in front of you. When you hear a monster coming, you're sure you're running out of time, so you check the doors quickly. The leftmost door has a sign on it saying, "Take the door on the right to break free." The second door has a sign saying, "It's the right door." The third door holds the sign, "Freedom is just right in front of you." And the last door has a sign saying, "Don't trust the signs." Which door should you choose? Well, there's a little bit of wordplay here. Let's see why. The first door says to take the door on the right. The second one says it's the right door. It doesn't say that it's the correct door, so one could conclude that it's pointing to some of the doors on the right. The third door says freedom is just right in front of you. But that just doesn't make any sense, does it? You can interpret that as it's pointing to the door just on your right. And that's it. It's the last door. It tells you not to trust the other signs, but it doesn't tell you that they're false, does it? Someone stole a rare diamond from Mrs. Monica Fraser's house. Mrs. Fraser claims she walked into her bedroom and found that the glass box was broken and her diamond was gone. She called Detective Brian, who soon arrived at her place. He gathered 3 suspects. Steve, the gardener, said he was on holiday that week, so he wasn't anywhere near the house when it happened. Sophia, her cousin, said she didn't even know Monica had a diamond hidden in her house. And Adeline, the cleaner, said that when she cleaned the house around 10 p.m. the previous night, everything seemed all right. Take a look at the suspects. Can you tell who stole the diamond? It was Adeline, the cleaning lady. It seems that right after she broke the glass and stole the jewelry, she also wiped off the pieces of glass while cleaning as well. It was a lazy Sunday morning, and John was having breakfast in the kitchen. Suddenly, he heard a loud noise of glass shattering. He walked into the living room and saw that someone had just broken one of his windows. He was mad and decided to go outside to see if he could find the culprit. There were only 3 people in the street. Jake, a young boy, was coming home from football practice. He was holding a ball in his hands, but he swears he didn't do anything. Stephen, John's longtime friend, was carrying a toolbox and said he'd just decided to go over there to fix John's window. Robert, the newspaper guy, was riding his bike and throwing newspapers at people's front lawns. After interviewing them all, John knew who had done it. It was Robert. If you look at the lawn, the newspaper is lying on the grass beneath the window. He threw the newspaper towards the mailbox but missed it and hit John's window. Whoops! It's best John just laughs about this, huh? Becca and Tom are a couple, and they decided to spend their Saturday afternoon enjoying New York's good summer weather. One of them rented a scooter from Brown's Scooters and needed to pay for their ride. The owner of the scooter company came to charge the user the $15 they owed. Both Becca and Tom, who were sitting on a park bench at that moment, were arguing over who should pay for the scooter ride. Becca said that Tom was the one who wrote it, so he should pay for it. But Tom said it was Becca that wrote it, and she should pay for it. Can you tell who's lying? Becca is lying. Take a close look at Becca's footprints. They lead directly to the scooter. Hey, Sherlock! Yes, you. Have you had your morning cup of coffee yet? Then put on your detective hat. It's time to work.
Yeah.
In 2 years, this dog is going to be twice as old as it was 5 years ago. How old is the dog at the moment? The pooch is 12 years old. Look at this picture. How many squares can you find here? There are 11 squares in this picture. Kudos if you found all of them. Mia is 3 times older than Anna. 3 years ago, Anna was a year younger than Amelia is now. Olivia is twice as old as Anna. Put the girls in order of their age. It goes like this: Mia, Olivia, Anna, and Amelia. David got lost in a jungle. After wandering for hours, he came to a place where the path split into 3 smaller trails. The first one led to an active volcano with red-hot lava bubbling in its crater. If David chose the second path, he would get to a clearing swarming with venomous bats. And the third path ended in a swamp, swallowing everything and everybody that got there. Where should he go? David should choose the second path. Most bats are only active at night. Plus, they almost never attack humans. A deaf man came to a store to pick up the flowers he had ordered for his wife. How did he explain to the shop assistant what he needed? He just said so. He was deaf, not mute. Here's a joke to lighten the mood. Don't take it too seriously. Why do elephants have wrinkles? No one is brave enough to iron them. Now, let's check how attentive you are. Your task is to figure out which vampire is the real one. The first vampire has a reflection. The second one doesn't have fangs. Only the third one is the real vampire. How about these mummies? Which one is real? The first one is the real mummy. The second one is just wearing a costume. See that zipper? And the third mummy has blue eyes. Now, you need to guess which of them is the ghost bride. Have you noticed that the first one is sweating? The third bride is just wearing a costume, but the second one is the real ghost. She's slightly transparent. Which of these ladies is the real mermaid? The first one is the real mermaid, the second girl has a zipper on the tail, and the third one is hiding a snorkeling mask behind her back. Your next task is to guess which of them is the real Leatherface. The first one has a saw with a label from a toy store. The second one has a can of red spray paint in his apron pocket. But the third one seems to be real. Which of these creatures is the real zombie? The first one is the real thing. The second one has a sandwich in his pocket. See? And the third one might have caught a cold. He has a runny nose. Try to guess who the real Slender Man is. The first one has a very realistic mask on his face, but we can still see a gap between the mask and his body. The third one has lost one of his gloves with long artificial fingers, but the second one is the real Slender Man. Which of these creatures is the real orc? The first one is the real orc, the second one doesn't have fangs, and the third one has a different skin tone on his face and body, so he must be wearing a mask. Physicists have built devices to move it very fast. The last 7 letters of its name can usually be found in newspapers, magazines, and journals. Can you figure out what I'm talking about? A particle. There are 3 playing cards in a row. You've got the following clues. There is a 2 to the right of a king. A diamond can be found to the left of a spade. An ace is to the left of a heart. A heart is to the left of a spade. Now, try to identify all 3 cards. The cards are the ace of diamonds, king of hearts, and 2 of spades. Lewis and his friend Mark were playing basketball. Suddenly, the ball landed in the garden of Lewis's neighbor, a very unfriendly gentleman. An even more unfriendly dog was guarding that garden. Luckily, it was tied to a tree, but the ball fell too close to that tree. If the dog spotted Lewis, it would follow the guy's every step. And if the guy came close enough, he would get bitten. How can Lewis get his ball back without getting hurt in the process? Lewis should walk around the tree, staying out of that dog's reach. The dog will keep following him until the entire length of the animal's leash is wrapped around the tree. Then Lewis should grab his ball and run away. The son of the dentist's father is talking to the father of the dentist's son, and the dentist isn't taking part in the discussion. Can you figure out these family ties? The dentist is a woman, and the people who are talking are her husband and her brother. Ice will melt if you heat it, but if you heat me, I'll become solid. What am I? I'm an egg. You buy this thing to eat, but you never eat it. What is it? It's a plate. James left a folder with important documents on the table in his home office and went to a business meeting. When he returned, he found out that the documents had disappeared. James had 3 suspects. His brother said, "I've been swimming in the pool since you left. I haven't seen or heard anything." The cook replied, "Tomorrow we're having a party, and I've been preparing the food." The security guard told James, "Hey, I've been outside all this time, checking the garden for mice. Who knows where the documents are?" It's the security guard. I bet his job description doesn't include pest control. Maria won the lottery and returned home with a large sum of money, but her sister called her and asked for help, so the girl had to rush out. Before leaving, she put the money under the carpet in her bedroom. When she came back, the money wasn't there. There were 3 people in her apartment while she was away. An electrician came to fix her AC. A neighbor visited to pick up some books, and Maria's housekeeper was cleaning the apartment. Who took the money? It was the housekeeper. She was the only person who had any reason to check under the carpet. You're trapped in a huge deserted mansion, far away from civilization. The windows are either boarded up or too high above the ground. The only tree that grows close enough to touch is too thin to hold you. The entrance door is also securely locked. You see 3 doors. All of them lead to freedom, but behind the first door, there's a raging fire. The second door hides hundreds of venomous scorpions, and behind the third door, there's a dark maze filled with different traps. What should you do? Break off a tree branch and light it in the first room. Now you have a torch. Escape through the maze that isn't dark anymore. You're locked in a room with 3 doors. You can safely walk through any of them, but the doorknobs are the real problem. The first one is under high voltage, and you won't survive touching it. The second is covered with dangerous poison. You can't let it get on your skin. And the third doorknob is so hot that it'll make your hand burn. Which doorknob should you try? The second one. You can take off any piece of clothing and use it to open the door. This way, you won't have to touch the doorknob with your hand. David was crazy about mountain biking. It was his biggest passion in life, but his wife Jessica hated his hobby. She thought it was too dangerous. Once, David's friend Oliver invited him on an exciting rock climbing trip. David knew his wife would be against this idea, so he told her he would go fishing to the nearest lake for a couple of days. Jessica agreed but asked her husband to send a photo of him fishing. Once David arrived at the foot of the mountain, he photoshopped a fishing photo and sent it to his wife. As soon as she saw it, she immediately realized it was a fake. How come? Look, it's snowing. It means there has to be snow at the nearest lake too, but the photo David sent is totally snow-free. John had been in jail for a year. All this time he'd been waiting for an opportunity to escape. One summer morning, he finally managed to break free. But it didn't go unnoticed. Several security guards started to follow John, and the man had to hide in the ladies' room. Look at the picture and try to figure out where John is. The man's hiding in the third stall. He wouldn't have had enough time to get a pair of women's shoes. An infinite number of mathematicians are waiting to make their orders in a coffee shop. The first one asks the barista for half a gallon of coffee. The second wants to have a quarter of a gallon. The third needs an eighth, and so on. How many gallons of coffee will the barista need to fulfill the wishes of all the mathematicians? Just one. A horse travels a certain distance every day. Strangely enough, 2 of its legs travel 20 miles every day, while the other 2 legs travel nearly 20.5 miles. It would seem that 2 of the horse's legs must be half a mile ahead of the other 2, but of course, this can't be true. The horse is a regular animal, so how is this situation possible? The horse operates the mill and travels in a circular clockwise direction. The two outside legs travel a greater distance than the inside ones. Now, I want to ask you not to take this riddle too seriously. Okay? Then listen attentively. There are 10 people in a house. Everyone wants to shake hands only with people shorter than themselves. Let's assume that everybody is different in height. How many handshakes will be made? And the correct answer is 0. Taller people do want to shake hands with shorter ones, that's true, but no one says that shorter people will want to shake hands with them in return. A man was to be sentenced for his crimes, and the judge told him, "You may make a statement. If it's true, I'll sentence you to 2 years in prison. If it's false, I'll sentence you to 5 years in prison." After the man made his statement, the judge decided to set him free. Can you figure out what the man said? He said, "You'll sentence me to 5 years in prison." If it was true, then the judge would have to make it false by sentencing him to 2 years. If it was false, then he would have to give him 5 years, which would make it true. So rather than contradict his own word, the judge set the man free. Look at these two women driving. One of them is actually a car thief. Can you figure out which one? It's the elderly lady. See those scratches near the door handle? A man got stranded on an island, and one of the main issues was that he couldn't swim. However, he managed to get off the island and return home safely. How did he do it? No one said the man got stranded on a deserted island. He just found some people and asked them to take him home by boat. A woman jumped off a cliff, but she didn't get hurt. How is this possible? She jumped off a cliff into a swimming pool in the water park. A boy fell off a 30-foot ladder, but he didn't get hurt. How is this possible? The boy fell off the bottom rung of the ladder. Now it's time to think outside the box. What will you get if you add 3 to 300 5 times? That's simple. 303, 303, 303, 303, 303. Now, what king can you make if you take the head of a lamb, the middle of a pig, the hind of a buffalo, and the tail of a dragon? You'll get a lion, the king of the jungle. See for yourself. The head of a lamb, the middle of a pig, the hind of a buffalo, and the tail of a dragon. L-I-O-N, lion. Martin had 3 daughters. The eldest daughter was the most honest girl in the universe. She always told the truth. The middle daughter sometimes told the truth, but sometimes she lied. The youngest daughter never said a single word of truth. One day, Martin brought home a marriage proposal for one of the girls. It was from a wealthy man named John. He wanted to marry either the eldest or the youngest daughter. This way, he could easily figure out whether the girl told the truth or lied. Martin had a condition for him. He said that he wouldn't tell John who the eldest, middle, or youngest daughter was. Also, he allowed John to ask only one question to identify the eldest or the youngest girl. And still, John asked just one question and found the right girl. What was the question? The question John asked was, is she older than her? He addressed his question to one of the daughters, pointing at the other two. You see, if the girl he asked turned out to be the eldest daughter, he'd know who the youngest one was, because no matter what, the eldest daughter always told the truth. If the girl he asked was the middle one, it wouldn't matter because the other two girls would both be acceptable choices. And if he asked the youngest daughter, she would lie, and he would identify the eldest girl. In any case, he needed to choose the youngest one based on the answer. Eric got lost in a museum. While he was trying to find a way out, it got late. All the doors were closed. Finally, he saw 3 staircases. The first one was all covered in bizarre nettles with razor-sharp leaves and long spikes. The second had giant stinking flowers with a stench almost impossible to bear. And the third staircase was an impassable jungle of cacti. Which staircase should Eric choose? He should run down the second staircase. Even though the flowers are gross, they're relatively harmless. Sarah got lost in a jungle. After wandering for hours, she finally came to a clearing with 3 narrow paths. Unfortunately, one of them was blocked by massive bushes with sharp thorns. The second was covered with trash and broken glass. And the third path was guarded by huge, scary-looking mantises. Which path should Sarah brave? The girl should choose the third path. Even though mantises look threatening, they're totally harmless. Chris was a truck driver. One Friday afternoon, he left Orangetown and was driving along the highway when he saw a man lying on the side of the road. Chris stopped and ran towards the man. After some time, he managed to bring the man around. His story was rather dramatic. He was a hitchhiker who tried to get to Orangetown. But halfway there, he had an argument with the driver and was thrown out of the car. The hitchhiker hit his head and lost consciousness. Now he was begging Chris to give him a lift to the town. Chris didn't believe the man's story and refused to help him. Why? The hitchhiker was lying on the right side of the road, but if he was going to Orangetown, he would be on the left side. It always stays hot, even when it's in the refrigerator. What is it? A pepper. Will and Lily are best friends, but they live in different cities. Will misses her very much and goes to her city by train. On the train, Will puts his gold watch on the table and makes himself comfortable. The train goes into a dark tunnel for a few seconds. When it gets light again, Will can't find his watch. There are 3 people in his compartment. He questions them all. Who stole my watch? Meg says, I was sleeping all the way. Xavier replies, I went to order a cup of coffee. And Dan says, I was waiting until it got light again to keep on reading. Who's the thief? Xavier. He hid the watch on his wrist under the sleeve. A watchmaker calls the police and says that he's just been robbed. Inspector Bold takes the case and rushes to the watchmaker's house.
I was finishing my work at about 8 p.m. Suddenly, the power was cut off. I went to the terrace to fix it. Suddenly, 4 men knocked me over and tied my hands. They stole all the money and left. At 10 p.m., I managed to get rid of the ropes. I fixed the lights and called the police.
Inspector Bold doesn't believe this story. Why? If the watchmaker had no electricity, his digital clock would have been 2 hours slow. He faked the robbery to get insurance money. Mr. Green throws a party in his mansion for all his friends and colleagues. He puts on his favorite shirt and diamond cufflinks. The party is a success. It gets dark and all the guests go out to the terrace to watch fireworks. Suddenly, Mr. Green notices that one of his cufflinks is gone. He looks around and quickly spots the thief. Who stole the cufflink? Take a look at this lady. She hid it in her hair. Busted! Molly goes for a walk with her friends. She has just gotten her first salary and she wants to buy some candies. Molly notices a small shop with chocolate and lollipops. They approach the shop. Molly takes her money out of her wallet, but a sudden gust of wind blows the bills away. Molly gathers her money, but one $10 bill is still missing. One of her friends must have taken it. Who took the bill? This guy. He's standing on it. Mike and Ike are brothers. Mike is a millionaire, and Ike is broke. Can you guess who is who? It's not his car, so he's probably Ike. Meanwhile, the cyclist has a luxurious car key. Therefore, he must be Mike. One of these ladies is broke. Can you guess who? It's the lady on the left. Her phone is fake. Karen works in a business center. One day, she was found unconscious in the bathroom. Doctors conclude that she was poisoned. The detective watches the CCTV. He sees 3 people who talked to Karen that day. The detective interviews these people. He asks one question. How well did you know her? Peter says, Laura worked in my department. She used to bring papers for me to sign from time to time. Kelly replies, We got along pretty well. Sometimes we had lunch together, and we plan to go to a concert next week. And Sandra says, I don't know her at all. We only talked once when she asked me what time it was. She lost her phone, and that's not surprising. Karen is so absent-minded. She's always losing things. Who poisoned Karen? Sandra. First, she said that she didn't know Karen at all. Then she called her by name and started talking about her traits. Lauren meets Jack on a dating app. They chat for a while, and today is their first date offline. Lauren arrives at the meeting point and sees Jack, but something's wrong with this guy. Can you guess what? Take a closer look at his profile picture. He has a mole on his cheek. Where did it go? Kevin is walking in the woods. Suddenly, a wicked witch pops out of nowhere and kidnaps him. Kevin wakes up in her cabin. The witch says,
You're my servant now. Clean up the kitchen while I'm gone. And don't even think of running away. The first door is guarded by hungry dogs. There's a vampire behind the second door. And there's toxic gas behind the third door. You'll never get out of here.
but Kevin still finds a way to escape. Can you guess how? He used the garlic from the kitchen to chase away the vampire and escaped through the second door. There's a huge drama taking place in a prison for dangerous criminals. The prisoners have broken out of their cells and now they're trying to escape from the territory of the prison. The local manager realizes that the only way to solve this issue is to ask a superhero for help. But their fees are very high. That's why the manager can only afford to hire one superhero. Mr. Scanman can see and pass through any obstacle. Magnitus has the ability to control all the metals in the world. And Mr. Fireman controls sparks and evokes fire with the power of his mind. Who can help stop the prison uprising? Magnitus will be able to lock all the cells and put handcuffs on everyone. So he's the best choice for this task. Rick takes 2 pictures of his girlfriend. Can you find 5 differences between them? Ready to see the differences? Here they are. Nina goes to the supermarket. She picks up all the products and goes to the cashier to pay. Oh no! Her expensive leather wallet is gone! Nina interrogates 3 suspects standing nearby. Mike says, "I didn't see your wallet at all. I was too busy choosing chocolate bars." Stan says, "I'm a vegan lady. I don't use leather wallets. And I make all my payments with my phone." And Stella says, "I think it was Mike. He doesn't look like someone who can afford to buy so much gourmet food." Who's lying? Let's take a closer look at Stan's shirt pocket. There's a leather wallet inside it, but he said that he only pays via his phone. Therefore, his story is a lie. Emma is a conductor on a train. She makes her way through the cars and finally arrives at the first class. There are only 3 passengers. Emma asks to see their IDs. The passengers hand over their cards. As Emma scans the cards, she finds out that one of the IDs is fake. Can you guess which one? The first ID is fake. Take a look at this guy's birth date. February 31st doesn't exist. Richard returns home from work and discovers that someone has robbed his apartment. He calls the police and they question 3 neighbors living on his floor. Sheila says, "I was outdoors with my boyfriend all day. We arrived home 1 minute before you came over." Zach says, "I was sleeping with my earplugs after a long night shift and you woke me up. I didn't notice anything suspicious." And Alice says, "I spent the whole day working from home. I only went out once, about 2 hours ago, to do my laundry in the basement." Who's lying? Let's take a look at Sheila's kitchen. She said they had returned just 1 minute ago, but there's a pot with boiling water on the stove. It takes more than a minute to boil so much water, so her story is fake. 3 friends are hanging out at a barbecue, but one of them has been replaced by a monster. Can you guess who? This lady. Her eyes are too yellow for a regular human. And now let's find out how sharp your vision is. Can you spot these 3 items in this mess? Ready to see the correct answer? Here they are. What about this location? Can you spot these 3 items? Over here.